Are you ready?
Are you ready to rumble?
I think you just blew out everybody's eardrums.
Sorry.
You know, we go a week without actually podcasting for human beings or streaming to them, and that's how you do things. You start out by yelling at them.
Yes.
My apologies, folks. I don't know what his problem is. We're going to have to give him a volume limiter or some more Thorazine or something along those lines.
Can I have both?
Yes. If we'll keep you from doing that again, yes. That is the question, answer, whatever. That is basically the way it goes. So we're in it like a minute, and I don't think I've cursed yet.
Well, that can't last.
No, it won't.
How you doing, man? It's only been like, what, a day since I've seen you?
It's been, yeah, I know. It's not long enough. There are things I saw in Vegas that just, yeah, what stays in Vegas, or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, not because it's embarrassing or mortifying, but more along the lines it's brain stopping.
Yeah, that's what you say now. What did you tell me in Vegas? Turn off the headlights, buddy. Turn off the headlights.
I'm not even going to go into that. I am not even going to go into that.
Dim the high beams, pal. Dim the high beams.
We are not. No. We are not having that conversation in public. We're not, because I'll blush. Oh, that's bad.
Oh, we are absolutely having that conversation in public because we're already having it.
All right, so I'm sitting there talking to Terry. He wakes up for his nap, and he likes to have these strappy T-shirts, you know. So he's sitting there doing something, and he's talking and everything else. I take a look over there, and there are three eyes staring at me. There's the two up here, and then there's this one nip. Hard, laser hard nip just staring at me.
I'm a fembot.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna bring that up. You brought that up. I just want that on record. So yeah, there were some incidents, but nothing completely untoward. Except, what did you keep calling me?
My writing side piece.
Side piece.
Yeah.
Side piece. I don't even warrant anything better than a side piece.
What else does one call one's mistress?
Oh, that's bad. Very bad. I think this pretty much encapsulates everything. I don't know if you've seen that movie or know the reference, but that's the Cenobites of Hellraiser. That's what they say. We have such sights to show you. Yeah, something like that. So, what the hell were we in Vegas for, Terry?
We were there for 20Books writing conference.
What the hell is 20Books?
It's where a whole pile of writers get together and do writing stuff.
Nah, really? What kind of writing stuff?
It's true. Well, all kinds of writing stuff. They have lots of panels. They have lots of networking. They have after-hours get-togethers. Lord knows what they were doing in their private rooms. I really don't want to know. There's just no telling.
I found out on a couple of occasions what they were doing in the conference room in the after-hours. Found that out.
So, what were they doing in the conference room?
Playing Cards Against Humanity, talking about books, movies, music.
That's totally
whatever.
Not nearly as bad as it could be.
No, I was horrified.
Everybody's clothes were still on.
Exactly. That's how you can tell this was a business con as opposed to a fan con. That's how you can tell that.
Have you been to business conferences? Those business people, they show up at these things and they do all kinds of unspeakable things with their clothes off.
Not in public, not in front of their colleagues, because they have to work with those people. Unless they're drunk enough. But I believe in your presentation you said don't be that person.
I did say don't be that person, but I do remember that you had a bottle of rye and you finished off the entire last half of the bottle in one night. There's no telling what you did in a public area.
I call that a Thursday. So, and it was a Thursday, so I just, had to get rid of the bottle. Wasn't going to waste it. Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. I did meet some really cool people there, though. If you don't know anything about 20Books, it's held at Bally's, at least for now, anyway, in Vegas on the Strip, which in itself is madness. But the hotel was pretty good. although it's under construction, so that was kind of a pain in the ass. It's also hell and gone for the nearest dispensary.
You know, Uber can fix that.
Anger.
You had plenty of opportunities to go get ganja'd up, and if you didn't, that was you, man. That's all you.
Yeah, I know. No one's going to believe that. Anyway, that notwithstanding, we started the con. What, Monday was Industry Day?
Not well. Yeah, Monday was Industry. Well, I don't know. Was it Industry Day? I know it was the day that the welcome for everybody.
Yeah, but I
guess it was Industry Day. Yeah,
that was the day we had all the vendors there with all their stuff. So,
hi Michelle.
I thought that Mr. Mixon was kidding about the audiobook people because I hadn't been looking at things. But man, when we went in there, how many audio narrator booths were there anyway? Did you ever count them?
I didn't count them, but it seems like they took up most of a row.
Yeah, there were quite a few of them.
Not just either producers or narrators or somebody in the audio related industry seemed to take up most of one row.
Yeah, so Spectrum was there. I got to meet Fireside, which is good since since they're the ones producing the Black series. It was nice to meet somebody from there. So that was pretty cool. Veronica Giguere was there too.
Yeah, she tried to keep you classed up, but it was a losing battle.
It was an incredibly losing battle. So lots of people there doing that. Amazon did have a booth.
Apparently things were to the point where Craig said, "Be nice. Be nice."
I don't know if they felt the loathing in the room. Oh God, it's like working for that boss you just despise, right? I think that's how more are feeling about Amazon. Oh God. Anyway, so they were there hawking. I guess they were hawking Vela.
They were doing Vela, Kindle Unlimited. They were doing all of that kind of stuff. They were basically hawking all their wares, as you will.
And ACX was there. I would love to know if somebody asked some questions about Vela. And I would love to know what the questions were and what the answers were, if any. I'd very much like to know that. One thing that didn't really surprise me is it seemed like there were some more author tools vendors there. I'm not going to name any of them because we're not sponsored by them, and I haven't had a chance to review and look at them, so I'm not even going to name them. If you're interested, I'm sure they're at 20 bucks.
When you said author tools, I thought this was going in a totally different direction.
Software for authors.
I thought it was authors that were tools. I don't know. I didn't meet those guys, but they probably exist.
Anyway, lots of vendors that were there for various stuff, including editing and the whole 9 yards, and producing stuff for YouTube or whatever kind of crazy and shenanigans you want to do. So they were all there. That was kind of interesting to see where the market is going, where it thinks it's going, as far as the stuff people are hawking at this point. Terry and I neither endorse nor advise against anything at this point. Because
it's true. The only product I use is Vellum, and I think it's pretty good for what it does. So there you are.
And I use Vellum, and I use Scrivener, and I use Wavemaker, and Final Cut, and Logic Pro, and Motion, and Partridge, and a Pear Tree. And I still use GarageBand for this show. Strangely, how that works.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, so that day was mainly that, but then Terry, because he's a social butterfly, I'd like to say that term needs to be retired. Terry is a social slut.
I was not sleeping around in various conversations.
He was lifting up his pants and showing the legs, and he was just out there, and I found out just how many people he's so friendly with, but he's never friendly with me. I felt very hurt. You. I felt very hurt. I got very jealous.
I'll lift up my pants leg for you if that's what you want.
You already blinded me with one third eye. Do we really need to go there? Anyway, so Terry introduced me to a shit ton of people, most of whose names I forgot immediately, except for those that I had a chance to talk to multiple times. But
I did not introduce you to a shit ton of people. I let you go for a couple of days on your own.
You did, but Monday morning was pandemonium. But it wasn't nearly the pandemonium of Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, I guess, is when things really got rolling as far as panels and other stuff. But how many panels did you attend the week?
I only attended a single panel. I was a panelist in one, and I was the speaker for the new person's orientation. But I did not attend many of the panels at all because, for me, the panels weren't as interesting as the networking opportunities.
I think I was at three and a half. One was the one you hosted. The other one was the oh God, now I can't remember anything. There was one that walked in half. There was another one that did the world building stuff with David Weber, and there was one more I did, and I can't even remember what it was. So it must not have left too much of an impression on me.
Does it count the one that I waited for James Pete to get up and start talking so that I could walk out while he was talking?
Oh, that's right. It was the audiobook narrator audition panel. That was interesting.
I'm so mean to James Pete.
You are mean to James Pete.
I told him I was going to walk out while he was talking. When the original speaker didn't show up and he was going to get up and talk, I said, I'm going to walk out while you're talking. So I waited for him to start, and then I got up and I made my way out with that and got the whole...
Anyway, the audiobook narrators, what they were doing is they were inviting writers to submit, I think it was 500 words.
Something like that.
Something like that for the narrators to read. So the narrators were more or less kind of sight reading for the most part in many cases. So they had very little time to figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And I went in there because V was going to read from a little bit of Station 3. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I wanted to be there, show support for that. And also, I heard some really interesting 500-word segments of stuff that I otherwise would not have heard. And now I think one of the books is I actually kind of like saved the title or something. I don't think it's out yet. It was fucking funny. It just sounded like crazy urban fantasy that's gone completely off the hook. Like, it's not even trying to be serious. It's not even attempting it. It was like Douglas Adams visits urban fantasy. And it was funny. So that was cool too. And that's kind of a neat thing to do because it's pretty rare the authors have a chance to, find their voice talent or whatever else up front, up front and center, so to speak, and get a chance to actually meet them in person or hear them in person. So that was pretty neat. I enjoyed that. The half panel I wandered into, this is for y'all who are paying attention to the business side, was something to do with the business side. And I'm not going to say who was in there, but I will say there were some things said and questions about how Amazon's been fudging numbers and how Kindle Vella bonuses have been paid all over the map and how some other things have been all over the map, including rankings. And it was a fascinating conversation.
So why were you only there for half of it? Did you come in late?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody told me that the next panel was in Parlor 5 and there was nobody in there, so we should go in there and wait. And I lagged by 5 or 6 minutes and then went up there and it was a closed door and I opened it and I walked into the panel, unfortunately. But I got a chance to meet somebody I wanted to meet, so I was happy about that. Anyway, it made me wish I had been there for the whole panel and made me wish I had been paying attention to that, a couple more of the business stuff, because I think that's one of the great things about listening to other writers' experiences with the platforms that we're on. Hey, V, welcome.
She's in Houston. I should probably drive up and pick her up,
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
I could be wrong, but no, you're a little too far away to handle that. And I think she'd have problems getting back through security. I could be wrong. Anyway, it was interesting. Those kinds of discussions would have been really good data to have. But I did get some good data from some of the folks I talked to. There were other authors and whatnot, and what they're doing and what's working. So that was kind of cool getting that.
Yeah. There was conversations going on about the companies that were doing business. Most of them were positive. There were a couple of negative comments, and it was interesting to hear other creators' opinions about the various companies. These companies apparently don't think that writers talk to one another. that we hear these things.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, saying if you sit along the side, just by the side of the river long enough, the body of your enemy comes floating by. In this
Something
case,
like that.
in this case, it's more on the lines of you just have to sit back and do nothing and just watch the fire
I am
from
not going to
afar.
mention I'm not going to mention the specific company, but I did notice that their booth seemed to be deserted every time I looked. And I
Yeah,
found that very interesting.
maybe we got the information late.
Maybe we're late to the party. We're always late to the party.
Yeah, I'm more out of touch even than you are, and I didn't think that was possible. Anyway, the panels had some interesting business stuff. They had some stuff that was there for first-time writers, or I shouldn't say first-time writers. I should say writers at the beginning of their careers, kind of deal. So those panels, like Terry said, those kinds of things didn't really interest me. I skipped Terry's space opera panel because I was afraid I would not be able to keep myself from heckling. So I thought it was a better idea that we go out and not do that. I'd just not be there.
Tabitha asks, are we talking distributor company or service provider, Terry? And the answer is that I'm not going to answer because it might help identify the company. I don't feel comfortable bad-mouthing a provider that was at 20Books. And I'm not going to. This company, their reputation will precede itself eventually. I feel confident.
It's just, don't worry about it. All I can say is when you figure out who you want to be partners with, talk to other writers.
Talk to others about their experiences with various companies, and they will tell you what they think.
And strangely enough, this same service provider has another client that we met and talked to who's extremely satisfied with them. So, whatever.
And they're not a service provider. We're not going to say what they are. Provider. You said service provider, but we're not going to identify them one way or the other.
This is a catch-all term, though, isn't it? Because the distributors,
there's only 4 or 5 distributors. Entity that while I suppose they do provide a service, I'm not going to go ahead and narrow it down into what type of thing they are.
Yeah. Talk about potential demise of the Bird app. Oh boy. Okay.
We can talk about that now, if you like. Although we're going to come back to more things. 20Books. I think the potential demise of Twitter. I don't know how much it's going to affect anybody. I haven't used Twitter in years. I deleted my account a long time ago. So there are probably some people that may get more use out of it. I don't know. What do you think, Paul? You were always the heavy Twitter user. What do you think the potential demise of Twitter will do to writers and such?
About that, I don't know, but I will give my experience on going to Mastodon. Okay. Mastodon is not Twitter. It just is not. It will never be Twitter. Thank Christ for that. It has no algorithm to bring you content. You have to go look for the content. In most of the content, people who are longtime Mastodon users or who know what's up, we use hashtags. So for instance, if I'm a science fiction writer, I will have a tab up in the app that is going to have the hashtags for sci-fi books and things like that. And then anybody who's also searched for that term and has their own tab of search terms open, they'll see the post. It's a very different thing. And because the algorithm's not pushing, the algorithm's not deciding whether or not you should be interested in the post. You have said, I am interested in this. This is what I want to see. So you're going out and doing that. Nobody's making that decision for you. You are. And it's a very different thing. It has it's Twitter before the bots, the spam, and the propaganda, and all the advertising. It's Twitter way back in the day when Twitter was useful, when it was a way to find readers, when it was a way to network with other podcasters, when we used it for just about everything, way back in the day when things started with KDP and everything else. So while I will miss portions of it, I really haven't liked Twitter since 2015 as much as I did before that. And I'm much happier on Mastodon. And I can say that I've already sold books because of Mastodon and have a new patron because of Mastodon. So there's something going on there. Your mileage may vary, but a lot of authors are moving to the space, and I can see what they're doing more easily without all the trash. All that noise is gone, and I'm loving it. So my hope is that especially Mastodon servers that are geared toward content creators, that's your space, man. You go in there, you join up, and you don't have to look at anybody's timeline but the local timeline, because all the other authors are basically your algorithm. And you're their algorithm. You're finding the stuff to share to one another because you have a shared interest, and y'all decide what rules of what content is going to be, and that's how you join that server.
I've heard you talking about Mastodon, and you mentioned that various people are. I'm on this server. This person is on this other server. How does that work? What is that? I mean, what difference does that make?
It's unlike Twitter, which is one site. Mastodon is what's called a federation. So you can have dozens and dozens and dozens or thousands of millions of servers, and they all have their own local storage. They all have their own local users. They all have their own local rules. But they're connected to all those other servers, so you can see and share content across those federated instances. It also means if one server goes down, one instance goes down or whatever, nobody else is affected. So that's what decentralized means. It also means if a government tries in and shut it down, good fucking luck.
Does it make a difference what server you're on? I mean, is there
Rules.
something like a local feed that's that
Yes.
server that you
Yes.
somehow?
That's your local timeline.
Why isn't there like a writer's server? I mean,
There are hundreds. There are hundreds. There are writers that have their own goddamn Mastodon server just for their fan base.
All right, that's pretty big. I guess if you've got your own server instance, you're pretty big in this shit.
Yeah, Evo moved, and he started out in Mastodon.social, which is where I still am. And then I got a notice that he moved to podvibes.io, whatever the hell that is. I haven't looked at it yet, but it's obviously another Mastodon instance.
I get totally nervous when you mention anything that ends in .io, because I remember the rest of the conversations we had this week about other sites that were using .io.
Oh, buttplug.io. Are you still blushing about that one? Come on.
I think it's hilarious.
It is awesome. And the guy who runs it is completely off his nut. That was probably the wrong phrase to use. He is completely crazy. So what he does is he creates an API for sex toys. And wow, all I could say is, wow, there's some people into some really freaky shit. That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
Veronica says, pod vibes. What kind of vibes?
I am gonna not. I'm just gonna let that go, V. Yeah, thanks for playing. No, I'm not getting in that game. No. I know better. I know how this ends. I spent days with you.
So, dragging back to the con, we met a number of pretty interesting people, and one of them was a standout of. He was the guy that thought he had all the outrageous commentary and whatnot, and then he met us, and I think we may have broke him a little bit.
This gentleman, he was wonderful. He thought Terry and I were a couple,
aren't we?
He thought Terry and I were a couple.
After I found that out, I had to go track him down and put my arm over his shoulder and say, I think we need to have the talk. When two writers come to Vegas together, we just want to be with one another. And, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I think that's what I said. A podcast host's love is a special kind of love.
Marriage.
Marriage. Yeah, we had that whole fucking, oh God, that was brain damage. We were so punch drunk. Anyway.
I totally destroyed him when we were talking. They were talking. They had a costume day. And I looked at him and I intentionally said something provocative. Ooh, I could dress up as Slave Leia. And his eyes, no.
This actually happened. This actually was said. That was great.
His name is that he had us use is Jack Jack.
Yeah.
And I immediately said, "Oh, I know the perfect image to go ahead and put on your contact information." So I stuck a picture of Jar Jar Binks there and told him that's what I was using. That got some outrage right there.
It was.
He was seriously outraged.
Oh, basically we did us, and yeah, we were us, and we had a very good time. We had a very good time. It was just so cool to kind of meet strangers and talk, but I still just have such an issue introducing myself, much less asking questions. It's such a fucking problem. But Terry threw both. He would not let Veronica and I say no. He pointed us in a direction and said, "Go." Or he grabbed us and said, "Come with me."
There
and he
may have
us.
been some enforced networking.
There was some forced networking going on. We're not going to describe it as abusive, but there was some forced networking going on.
Do you want to talk to X?
Forced.
I really think you should talk to X. Why don't we go talk to X?
Yeah, it's like that. So it was God, that was the best part. That's where we were there basically to talk to all those people and just kind of, you'd just be sitting there and somebody would come by and then shake out their hand, or somebody would be talking about something next to you and you might ask a question and then suddenly you're in the conversation.
Yeah.
And because it was no fandoms or anything like that, it was just writers.
This was
talking.
A peer event. These were your
event,
peers.
So that was neat. Even though I still had to deal with Terry, even though I had to deal with his shenanigans, although he left me for several evenings. What were you doing for several evenings?
I left you unescorted for several evenings.
Several evenings. You left me all on my own. You have no idea the things I saw.
Jeff Chaney, the lead guy with Variant Publishing, went ahead and took me and Jonathan Brazee and a couple of other people and some of his staff and whatnot out to a high-end restaurant, which I got to tell you, when you go to a steak place like that, Outback is my idea, kind of the fancy steakhouse. This was about 4 times as fancy as that. We're talking, uniformed waiters, and they'll fold your napkin for you if you set it down and leave it there too long, and then put it back for you, all folded up. The menu is like little line items, and they're like, if there's any question you have about any particular entree, I will help you understand it in minute detail. The steak I got was, I think, $75 of steak, and it was not the most expensive on there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's way more than I was comfortable with.
Matt, this was a TMI. This was such a TMI. Yeah, okay.
You weren't alone, Matt.
I was all alone and scared. Sounds like the first time I had sex.
You totally were not alone, Matt.
Do not step on my with you. Don't step on my cords. Don't. Please don't. Okay, you can step on that one. All right.
Did you hear what I said, Paul?
No, I'm sorry.
I said he totally wasn't alone. His hand was there.
Rosie and her 5 fingers, yeah. Rosie Palm and her 5 fingers.
That's quite the crowd.
That's 6 involved. That is, I never thought about that. Well, 7 if you count the offending member or participating member.
I really think we should back away from this conversational topic right now.
At some point, we're really going to have to do better than this. Pam and her 5 friends.
While it's non-stick, I'm not sure it's appropriate.
Excuse me?
Pam.
Okay. I was like, are we having the same conversation? Did I stroke out or did you?
Matt said he did have Pam and her 5 friends. So I'm saying Pam is non-stick, but I don't know. Sounds risky.
Oh my God. Why? Oh God, why? Why do I do this?
We met some folks that were there that were patrons and or fans, and that was good.
That was awesome. So we hung out with Rick Shaw and Patrick Tebby and V, of course. And
I feel bad about Patrick. I feel so bad about Patrick. First, let me take a moment to go ahead and bring his book up so everybody can see his book.
There you go.
I picked up a copy of it. It sounds very interesting. You introduced me to him in the hall, and I said, I don't think we've met. And he says, we've met 4 times. 4 times. And each time, you don't remember me. And so I felt bad about that. You know, I don't know what to say. So Veronica takes us out to Ping Pang Pong, and Rick and I and the rest are there. And I'm telling Veronica all about that. And when I mention it, Paul looks over, and Patrick is sitting right next to him. And he says, I told you so. And I don't think that Patrick did this, but I totally think that he should have went, put his arms up.
He did give a hard blink like, are you shitting me?
He should have said, really? I'm right here. I'm literally right here. So I feel bad. I feel very bad about that. And I'm now I doubt I will ever forget Patrick now.
I don't think you're ever going to live this down. I think every time you see him from now on, assuming that you don't forget.
Assuming I don't forget. You know, I've already decided that I'm going to write Patrick into the Last Hunter series.
He deserves something after you forget his name.
No, Rick was making the comment that he was the gray man of the Dead Robot Society. Because, you know, you don't know what the gray man is?
Apparently not.
It's like the spy that you can't see. He's the gray man. He just blends in with everything around him. So I'm going to make maybe an assassin that just can pass through everything. And I'm going to name him Patrick.
Oh, that's a decent Mary Sue. I like that.
So that way I can, you know, I've been up front. I totally screwed that up. So I'm not concealing my screw up in this. I feel bad. So I am going to make that up by Tuckerizing him.
My favorite part about that was he walked up to me, introduced himself, and I was like, I know your name. I know your name. I know your name. He's like, I'm a patron. I was like, God damn it.
Is he one of your patrons or the Dead Robot Society patrons?
I think he's DRS. I'll have to go back and look, actually.
That's what I thought, but I realized I didn't know for sure. He might have been just one of your patrons, so I don't know.
Not a clue. Regardless, his first words to me were, well, I was beginning to think you were just an AI-generated construct that was entertaining Terry.
Okay, then he's probably a patron for the show then.
Anyway, that was funny. Yeah. It was great hanging out with him and the others. Put in the high vis vest and give him a clipboard. He can go anywhere. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you got a warning vest on, people just assume that you're doing construction or something else. Wear the hard hat and you're really in good shape, depending on where you are, I guess.
But yeah, I actually need a gray man in this story. And so it's giving me some ideas. So I think I'm going to get some mileage out of this.
Oops, sorry. Corona times? Oh, yeah.
Yes, but he's met me like 3 or 4 years in a row. So
yeah,
I don't exactly have that option.
They met pre-COVID. They met pre-COVID. Maybe your brain has been affected by COVID. That would not.
He literally, he's got the look that just seems to blend in. It's not saying that he's, you know, well, he's also unassuming, and that helps him blend in.
He's got such pretty eyes, though. He's got really pretty eyes.
That's why I decided he should be an assassin.
That sounded really creepy. I'm sorry.
Patrick, he didn't mean it quite that way.
Patrick, I want your eyes. Oh, they're so pretty.
Take your eyes.
So pretty. Okay. Now that we've got that out of our system. Okay, so basically, yes, we had a Patreon night essentially, and it was a blast. It was a good time talking to everybody and seeing where, you know, their writing is and you know, just basically talking, seeing what they're doing, and as opposed to us just talking about us. It was nice to hear other people for once and not have to talk about yourself. I think I did a lot more listening than I did talking, which I believe is your strategy.
Yeah, when I'm talking to people, I want to know more about them than I want them to know about me. It's not like I'm hiding myself. I want to engage in conversation, and writers are difficult to get them talking about themselves. So that's where I tend to go.
I don't know about that, but
I did run into a British thriller author that we got to talking at a party. One of those nights that I wasn't around with you. It was one of those highfalutin here, come here to the suite and have drinks type of thing. And he mentioned, after I had told him that I'd worked at the Mission Control Center in NASA, he mentioned, "Oh, I was there once. We came down from Comic Palooza while we were there." And he said that he went in a bus, a stripper bus, by the way, with a pole and everything, which he thought was pretty darn incredible.
my God, it's like they were in Vegas.
It's almost like they were in Vegas. But he said he listed off who it was, and he said, and when we had a couple of the Power Ranger actors too. And I said, "Oh yeah, I remember those guys. I didn't actually see them, but I saw the bus and I heard they were in the building." And that just blew his mind. We were both there at the same time? Brain exploded, and he immediately began dragging all of his friends over to explain it. It was very amusing.
That is a good point. Matt says, networking conversations are like playing chess. You rarely learn anything from a game where you win. Yeah, there is no, and that's the problem. It's not about winning. It's all about knowledge sharing. It's about learning from a different perspective, which I think people sometimes forget is very important for creative work, anything in general, really.
The thriller author, one of the people he dragged over was his advertising guy. And his advertising guy, well, he asked me how much I use in advertising, and I said nothing, $0. And so he dragged his advertising guy over there, and I got scolded for like 20 minutes about not advertising my stuff. And he gave me the card and said, "We're going to talk again next year, and you'd better be telling me that you've done something." So, yeah.
That's really the funny part. Some of these people were like, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Uh-huh.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. You've been lazy. Stop that.
He seemed to be of the opinion that with my own stuff that I'm not even writing on right now, that I could make significantly more money. I'm leaving money on the table, basically. He didn't say those words, but those were the words. And so he said, if you send me a note, if you want to have a video chat and me explain some things, I'd be happy to do that. So it wasn't a recruitment speech, although I suspect that could lead to, some type of business arrangement. It wasn't pitched that way. It was pitched in a more friendly zone.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't.
And that's what comes of going to these events and meeting people. You never know who's going to introduce you to who and what's going to come of it.
I also had a conversation with Dean Wesley Smith, which was cool because I bullied my way in there with Terry, and we actually talked. It was kind of neat. Intimidating as fucking hell, but it was neat. And also, David Weber, Mark Wandry. Who else was in there? Well, of course, Craig Martell, who organizes the event, obviously. Uh-oh, there's a cat. We have a cat. I actually have a putty in here, but he's currently crashed out on his favorite heating blanket because his heating pad was off for a week. So he's very despondent, but now he's clutching it and curled up on it because that's his thing. That's his jam. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. V says they were both awesome people. The ad guy, his wife, was part of the paranormal romance panel. The high-powered author panel. Let's talk genre.
Yeah, let's talk genre. Genre's fun.
I thought 20Books was mainly going to be military sci-fi authors.
You were totally wrong.
Holy shit, was I wrong.
Even though I didn't know the number of different other people that were going to be there, I knew that there were going to be significantly less military sci-fi than everything else.
Which was pretty shocking to me, obviously. Based on the panels for paranormal romance, which we're going to have to get somebody that's on to talk about, and we know who that is. It's obviously extremely popular because holy fucking shit. It seemed like I even had to ask, what is PRN? Why does everybody have PRN in their stuff? Oh, that's paranormal romance, or PNR rather, PNR. I was like, what the hell?
As opposed to do not resuscitate. Maybe you misread it the first time.
No,
it just said if I fall down, don't help me up.
No, in Vegas, who would? They just step on you. You're in the way. You're on the way to the slot machines. Get out of the way.
Leo has missed me real bad.
Aww. Aww. This is the real reason people come watch these shows is just to see your cats. In mind, if he ever puts them
I
up
opened
here.
the gate up, so there's no telling who else is going to come up here and visit.
Oh, gotcha. So you've been warned. They're probably going to be feline mischief, which we all know you love. Like I said, it's the real reason you watch the show. What are the genres? Here goes V. It sells awesome. Yeah, by the looks of what was going on there, I'd say it probably does, because holy shit, everybody seems to be writing it.
There were a lot of romance, paranormal romance, and other things at the book sales in the last day. I'd say they definitely took up half the space or more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there were a ton of them. I mean, just absolute ton of them. I mean, that's not really my jam, obviously, but I happened upon a couple of romance writers, and I was like, well, what are y'all doing here, and what are you looking at getting into? And they were like, well, we want to know all there is to know about paranormal romance. I was like, okay, yeah, here we go, here it is, it's on. So that's the genre of du jour, I guess. It'll probably stay that way for quite a long time until something else comes out. That and harems. What in the effing hell is going on with harem romance?
Apparently, there's not enough room for them there at that con.
Reverse harem and harem romance is evidently extremely popular too.
What I was saying is that they were using an app called Eventi to go ahead and schedule the rooms and try to guess how many people were going to be there. But there were about twice as many people that showed up for the reverse harem panel as the room, would comfortably hold.
Yeah. Oh, people have found the poll, Terry.
Uh-oh. What do they have to say about it?
I don't know. They haven't said anything. I haven't looked. I'm keeping myself in suspense. I can't see the poll, so we'll read the poll results at the end. Oh yeah. So long as it doesn't have sparkly vampires, I'll give it a go. Does that mean Twilight is a paranormal romance, V?
I would say that it kind of is, yeah.
Or is that urban fantasy romance? What's the difference?
It is not urban fantasy. Twilight is not urban fantasy.
Oh, V says she was so mad she didn't get into that room. People knew of a title she didn't and loved it. Yeah, that sucks. Oh, Cthulhu is dominating right now. I'm shocked. Guess who voted for Paul? Guess who voted for Terry? Paul and Terry.
Hey, man, I got to get at least one vote, so I got to vote for myself.
Truth be told, there's a lot
Why
of
can't
love.
I make some sock puppet accounts and go up there and, just totally bomb you out of this?
You could. I could also abuse the API. William West says, truth be told, there's a lot of love for monsters in general out there. Really? Have you seen my sales?
All right, let's go ahead and bring up what Timothy says. He says, as far as I know, isn't PNR basically urban fantasy plus romance? And the answer is no, it is not. Urban fantasy is more action-oriented, and it's definitely not romance. There might be some romance in your urban fantasy, but it is not a required trope for it, whereas romance is part of the paranormal romance. So the two are definitely not the same thing.
Yeah, we had that discussion. It's the and I'm guessing reverse harem that's really about the relationships between them and not necessarily just slavering sex.
Okay.
Or am I wrong in that?
For any romance, harem, reverse harem, it might have some sex in it, but it's always about the relationships. You're not going to go ahead and write a story that has, multiple partners going on in there and have it just be about the banging. It's going to be about the relationships. That's what those stories are. Of course, you're going to get the spicy part too, so there is that.
Tabitha says urban fantasy is darker.
I agree with that. It is somewhat darker. The stakes are heavier, and paranormal romance is a lighter sort of thing in my mind. I'm sure that there's some that are darker, but it seems lighter.
And Tabitha also says she guesses monster romance is going to be the next big thing on the horizon for paranormal romance. Shifters and vampires are on the downtrend.
You know, that's a good thing. Shifters and vampires have dominated for too long. It needs to be something else, you know. But I wonder if this is going to be, you know, is this going to go ahead and bring back the Bigfoot related sex stories? I need to know that.
Is it paranormal romance if a spirit inhabits a sex toy? Just asking for a friend.
You know, I'm here to tell you that the haunted vagina is not paranormal romance.
Oh shit! I just had to ask. Anyway.
Timothy also asks, to put it another way, is paranormal romance romance with urban fantasy trappings? And the answer is yet again, no. Those two things are separate things. They may resemble one another, but it's not one has the trappings of the other. It's the two are completely separated, and they just have some similarities. One did not spawn the other. One is not mimicking the other. They are two things that just happen to have a couple of items in common. And Tabitha says that Bigfoot is a distinct possibility, also orcs and minotaurs. I mentioned Bigfoot because there was an author named Virginia Wade that wrote Bigfoot erotica a number of years ago, and that was a huge thing.
Big thing. Still, okay, phrasing. It is still a popular subgenre. Subgenre. Paranormal sci-fi. Yeah, what the fuck? How would that work? My brain is just not going to work. But, you know, really, if you think about it, when we talk about sentient entities and things like that moving around, they're ghosts.
Well, you already have, if you stretch it far enough. Isn't that Star Wars? I mean, you've got the Force ghosts around.
Yeah.
Aren't they and the Force elements of that? Isn't that paranormal? Really? It's ghosts doing stuff.
It's just fantasy. It has a whole shit ton of fantasy tropes in it. Making sex with
phrasing, Tabitha.
Phrasing. God. You know, I at least call myself out. Come on. Anyway, paranormal sci-fi. Like I said, if you're talking about sentient AIs, I would make the argument that they are essentially ghosts for all intents and purposes, even if they are bound to a single body, which is why, like Ghost in the Shell, right? That was the idea that people have become so synonymous with their digital selves that they're indistinguishable. The two things are indistinguishable. Oh, good. Cthulhu porn. We all knew it was coming. It's damn it, phrasing. We all knew it was eventually going to happen. There we go. I don't think that could be taken. Okay. Wow, I'm really having a difficult time choosing my words to make sure that I don't get eyebrows raised from Terry.
What? I'm not judgmental.
Dean and Mary.
You just say whatever you want to go ahead and say, Paul.
I think you said Dean and Mary have so much to answer for. I don't know who those are.
Is that Dean Wesley Smith? I'm not sure.
Oh, Matt said my favorite line from Orcs. Pass me another elf. This one's split. Wow. Anyway, I find that all the romance subgenre is kind of confusing to Tim. It's not just you. It's not just you. Because I thought kind of the same thing. It was a little it's a little confusing, I guess, unless you actually read the genre. Mary Gentle? Who's Mary Gentle?
Probably something in paranormal romance, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the name. I'm just guessing there.
I don't know. Matt says, with paranormal sci-fi, how could you ever know it wasn't just advanced tech? Any technology sufficiently advanced looks like magic. Yes. Which is why I mean, imagine if this is gonna be convoluted. If there was some kind of dimensional rift or some area like that where paranormal entities that you would think of as paranormal entities came through that dimension and were able to oh, okay. I heard that reference this week. Thanks for ruining my train of thought. If there was some kind of portal that allowed other creatures to come through that, but only affect things in a psychic way or stuff like that, that is how you're right. How would you know? How would you know the difference? Because everything they would do would seem like magic. Wrote grunts. The quote that Matt put up is from that book. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Very trope driven. Yeah. That's kind of the same problem I have with urban fantasy. But, I say that, and I had a conversation with somebody about the tropes of survival horror. And the fact that I religiously adhered to them in Station 3. So that was almost a test for myself. But, I mean, it seems like, do you have to have a werewolf? Do you have to have a vampire? Do you have to have this? Do you have to have that? Is any sign or elimination or missing element, is that going to be taken as a perversion of the genre, or are people going to allow some experimentation? My problem with the military sci-fi crowd, they're not experimenters. By and large, not. So that would kind of be my question.
So, you can sometimes change some of the tropes that you're using with military sci-fi, but they want certain things. And it reminds me that somebody wrote a book called Starship Troopers, but it wasn't about the fighting. It was troopers in like Broadway troopers, like in the other sort of way. They were actors, a bunch of actors.
Oh no.
So they made a play on the words sounding the same.
How'd that go over?
It's actually a really entertaining book.
Yeah, but were people confused?
I have no idea. I wasn't.
William says, aren't tropes emergent from the direction a genre would take the story? So it's reasonable that tropes would reinvent themselves even if we forgot them. That is a very loud purr.
Him's a very happy boy.
I can hear that from here. That's a really good question. I guess in a way they do reinvent themselves, because at first we had vampires, then you have succubi, incubi, and I think all of that is just basically growing out of the original legends. So which one happened first? Or have they always been together? Or they are in a way just sides of the same coin, but they're different tropes, completely different tropes. So I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. Tabitha says yes, and no to experimentation and romance. Readers are both open-minded and very specific in their wants.
And that's pretty much the same with military science fiction, yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned what I did in Derelict, and somebody piped up and went, "We want something new! No, not like that! We want exactly the same thing we had before!" That's pretty much how I looked at it. So,
there's some accuracy in that particular statement.
There's extreme accuracy in that statement. It's not just any one fandom. It's all fandoms are like that. When you get to the folks that are pretty damned into it, fanatics, wow. Anyway, exactly, yeah. So
I wonder if there's any military sci-fi romance. I know that there's military romance. That's actually a genre. Military romance is a thing. It really is.
Okay.
I wonder if there's any military sci-fi romance. That could be. I'm not sure how you'd mix all those tropes together in a way that's going to work for you, but sure.
I had a subplot of that in the Derelict Saga that was properly consummated in all senses of the word.
No, that's erotica. That's not romance.
I didn't. I was off screen. Shut up.
Military, is like Tabitha says, it's a hot genre too. It totally is. Military romance is a thing. It's a real thing. It's a hot thing in the marketplace.
I would think sci-fi romance or military sci-fi romance would be pretty easy, especially if you were willing to violate a few tropes.
See, though, I'm not sure how well military sci-fi romance would work out. I don't know how well those particular sets of two genres could mix together.
We're on leave, baby. It's a 7-day whirlwind romance through the stars with the inevitable breakup and long distance relationship.
That's shore leave. That's totally not, a whirlwind, romance through the stars.
I think it depends on how much you save up.
Hang on. Tabitha says that you're splitting your audience with mil sci-fi romance. Could you explain that in more detail? How do you mean splitting it? By having two things that don't really mix together?
Oh, that sounds like my entire career. William West says, military romance. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Take me, Harry. Two audiences just don't necessarily mix. Okay.
Yeah. I have trouble envisioning those two audiences working well together. Oh, the love, the action. And then they go man the machine gun and mow down their enemies.
While holding hands.
That's so sexy.
Well, never mind. Paul's slapping himself because he's about to say something that really would have gotten him in trouble. Yeah, Tabitha.
Tabby?
I want to call her Tabby because she's got an Tabby.
I mean, oh my gosh, that's a little familiar, don't you think?
Look at her avatar.
Anyway. You got to watch those nicknames, buddy.
My apologies, Tabitha. She says people who read one aren't necessarily going to be interested in the other at the same time. Fair enough. But I think you're more than welcome to have that as a facet. I don't see how that would be a problem. Romance can always be a facet. Just don't call it a romance book if that's not the focus.
So let's get back to the convention. What else should we talk about there?
How fake Vegas is?
Oh my gosh. You think?
Jesus Christ.
It's not fake. Veronica saw Elvis himself there eating lobster. It's so not fake.
She messaged us last night while we were trying to get on our plane that they were flying home that she had met Elvis, or they had seen Elvis at the restaurant. Who was he with? She said something.
A lady of some kind.
Yeah, she wasn't specific, I don't think. Anyway.
I don't think she just mentioned it was with a lady. She didn't mention anything about like the lady being somebody.
I also discovered that if you've got money for an Uber, holy shit, can you find there is my God, the number of dispensaries in Las Vegas is insane.
So why weren't you there?
They had a cannabis convention while we were there. Irony of ironies. And I didn't. I had other things to do. Much other things to do. Don't you have a really weird star? Is the Dyson Sphere thing really true? What?
I'm not sure how that relates to Tabby, but I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
Is this a Doctor Who thing? Maybe? Don't know. Anyway, I'm glad I didn't make you upset, Tabitha. Sorry about that. Anyway, what else? Takeaways? Vegas is expensive? Holy fuck.
I may have noticed that.
Yeah, you may have noticed that. I noticed it too, trust me. And it's spread out.
You're gonna do a lot of walking if you don't take an Uber or a cab.
Yeah, my knee has been really fucked up for like a week, several weeks. So I was just getting it better when we went to Vegas, and suddenly I had to walk a long way. So the first couple of days were pretty rough, and then my knee kind of adjusted, and it's doing much better now. I think I strengthened the muscles just by walking around, but there were a couple of painful days, and every once in a while it yelled at me. But A lot of walking. And also, Vegas is not very accessible. We discovered that the hard way, too.
There were some complaints about, places not being handicap accessible.
Yeah, Jack has some severe mobility problems, and we had Rick Shaw and I ended up having to take each of his elbows and kind of help lift him upstairs in certain cases. That's fucked up. It's really fucked up. So there was no way somebody with a wheelchair or a scooter or hell even a walker could have gone where we went and the way we went. So yeah, that's something to know up front. At least the older can see, it's like Bally's, they're not very accessible at all. So keep that in mind. What else? Don't buy food from Target
or CVS. At least not anywhere close to the Strip. I've eaten MREs. That sandwich I had was worse than any MRE that I've ever had, even the bad ones.
If you go to the no context quotes, you will see the one from Terry about I should have had the gas station sushi.
That's right. I'd have been better off going with the gas station sushi.
It was so bad. He looked so disappointed. He was so disappointed. He had to go somewhere and he was so hungry. It's just like, oh.
I can't make myself eat this. I cannot make myself eat this.
Oh, so that was just bad news all the way around. But we had a refrigerator, which was good for the food that we didn't want to eat or that wasn't safe for us to eat. Room was good. It was pretty quiet. We didn't have any problems with noise pollution where we were. Although we heard from a friend who was sitting in his room that as he was going off to sleep, he heard from across the hall, "No, baby, I don't do that shit, but you're going to have a good time." So we got no idea what was going on there. I told Terry earlier, I'm thinking like a 4-room situation where the cops will go in there when it starts smelling bad enough. There's no telling what's going on. Anyway, yeah, so that's Vegas. You can get anything you want. There are weed delivery services, and then there are hotel weed delivery services. It is scary. You can get anything if you have enough money and no.
Call the concierge. I need some weed. Yes, sir. Of course, sir.
No, he will tell you what site to go to because they're not allowed to do that. But he's got his buddy over there. Trust me. Regardless, it was Bally's is being remodeled, so I don't know.
It's being renovated.
It's being renovated, so I have no idea what they're going to do, but the accessibility situation is bad. But that's an older casino.
Well, they were ripping out all the carpeting and replacing all of that and touching things up. So that's all we saw them doing. I don't think it's going to be, a lot of major tearing down one area and doing something to it. It looks like they're just going to, refresh everything, which is good. Looking at the carpet in our hallway, they could use some refreshing.
Oh my God, I was afraid to get anywhere near that carpet. I was afraid that it would start dissolving my jeans. Yeah, it was pretty bad. There were also some elevator buttons that didn't work. For calling elevators. It was annoying. Shadow, you just killed my monitor.
Wah, wah, wah.
I may have to beat this cat.
He does not care what you think.
No, he actually does not give a damn. He's like, "What's the matter? What's the matter, Dad? Things not working? Not my fault. Not my problem." Will you stop it? I can't see.
That's okay. We can see you. It's just very dark in there now without your monitor.
Well, that would be a problem now, wouldn't it? What did you do, child? Okay, now I can sort of see, maybe. I've got it on the other monitor. We'll see if, oh, shit. Yeah, technical issues. Oh, and now you're going to stand here where everybody could see you, but I can't see where you are. Would you like me to move the keyboard for you? If I do that, will you stop? There we go. Now I have a monitor again. Yay! Everybody was delighted. Beat the Shadow. No idea what the book would be about, but I'd read it. Okay, Matt, good to know. He's currently sitting on my iPad. Get off of that! The cat that won't sit in boxes sits on iPads and anything else that has a screen. Now he's going to start chewing on cables. I'm so glad I left for a week so I could get away for this shit, for him to start doing it during a live stream, because, that's how it rolls. I can't compete with a cat. It's just not happening.
Leo is a lot more photogenic than Shadow is. He wants to be held and loved.
Well, you know how cats are. They do what they do and they do what they want, and they're all different. Kind of like people. Who knew? Wow, that's some scary hair.
You over the week you had some scary hair moments.
There were some scary hair moments. The weather was so dry. Terry was dying. It was hilarious. He used all the skin lotion
That the hotel provided, and then
the
was
hotel
digging for more.
provided.
Oh my God, my wife packed everything for me. We were opening things up, going, I wonder what all's in here. We should have had an unpacking show where we opened up the suitcase to see what she had in there.
I think next time you need to do that. It'd be like a YouTube unboxing video. Oh look, I got this new component. No, it's a hunt to see exactly what was packed, including the largest collection of hotel shampoos I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of conditioner and shampoo.
It was just like, holy shit. It was just tons and tons of them. I think basically Terry could have left that in Vegas and removed about 5 pounds, maybe 6 out of his luggage.
That bag was 50 pounds. It was right at the limit.
It was right at 50. I'm shocked.
It was right at 50 when I went there, and it was right at 50 when I came back. So
wow.
I'm glad she didn't have much more in there.
No kidding. What? See, if I try and lift mine near the microphone. Yeah, see, he's not happy. He's not happy, Putty. He doesn't like being held. But he does like sticking his tail in my face.
Well, yeah.
Okay, if I move it this far, if I move it there, will you sit? Just trying to keep him from stepping on cords at this point. Yeah, revenge for an unplugged heating pad, exactly.
His tail swapping the microphone. Thump, thump, thump.
Wouldn't be the first time. So as a newbie to 20 books, I would say this. I would say if you're serious about writing, serious in the business, you've got a couple of things written and are looking to improve your knowledge of the biz, this is definitely the con to go to. Of all the cons that I've been to.
Let's step back. Is this a convention you would recommend?
Yes.
If at all possible, would you come back next year?
Yep. In a heartbeat, because I want to see where those people are at again, and I want to have a chance to talk to some of them again, hardcore. And then, of course, there's going to be people I didn't meet this time that I wanted to meet. There were a couple of things happened. We were expecting some folks to be there, but there were some, illnesses in the family, and a certain publisher had problems shipping their books, so they didn't show up. We won't discuss who that was.
Nope.
But I was looking.
It's none of their doing. Shipping is what it is. Yeah,
shipping happens. I was there. I was hoping to meet somebody from there for just to kind of follow up on something, but whatever. The connections were great, and I think that that makes it worthwhile. That and being able to talk to all these other writers and see what they're doing that's working, what's not working. And the moment you mention what you're doing, you might find some suggestions as to how to make it better. And that's the kind of thing, that's why you go to this. The other cool thing about 20 books, and this is what I'm going to do for the panels that I missed, all the panels were streamed by Spectrum Audio internal to actually they were streamed. Anybody who bought, they bought us a lot.
If you were a live ticket holder, you got it. Or if you paid $25 to get it, then in a couple of weeks, it's going to be on the YouTube channel in any case. So you're not going to miss out. You can go back and review things.
So the that part I can go back and look at, right? I can't go back. There's no way for me to do what I did with the people as far as the networking goes. Tabitha says it's the only convention I think I would attend. The panels talks that I posted on the YouTube channel from last year, a big part of why I started writing again. There you go. So that's exactly, I was able to start writing again. That is exactly what I'm talking about. It was refreshing, even as exhausted as I look and am. Terry and I had a hell of a time with the sleep adjustment because we kept getting up at 4 a.m. for the first 2 days.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was really rough, and
the restaurants were not open.
And they were not open. No, it was finding a cup of coffee was a fucking nightmare. Another downside. You better figure out where the coffee places are and when they open. Oh, God, that's cat number 3. You've had 2. I've had 1. It's currently puffed up like a pigeon. Anyway, I would definitely say that is the one to go to. Period. End of story. I haven't heard of any other con that's like this. It's so indie focused. And that's, I think, a good thing. But I mean, there are also traditional stuff there. It's just, it's more about you doing the business work as opposed to having the publisher doing the business work so that you can actually have your own business eventually. A successful brand. So that's basically what it is. That's my thoughts on it as a noob going to it. Very intimidating at first, but everybody's so friendly and welcoming. And it just basically you get out what you put into it. That sounded wrong again.
Also, the more times you go, the more you introduce yourself to people, the more they're going to remember you. It's not like it's very cliquish. It's very, we're going to talk to everybody.
But what if they loathe you?
They'll still talk to you. Yeah.
But what if they loathe you? Yeah.
There's nothing like walking up to somebody that you know is a big name author and saying, hey, I just want to go ahead and say hi again. And him look down at your name tag. Oh, Terry, hey, man.
Yeah. The conversation with Dean Wesley Smith was rather illuminating because I didn't know a lot of the history behind how he got into the indie space. So that was rather fascinating to hear, and also just meet the guy. It was just
he
cool.
Is an institution.
Yeah, he needs to be an institution. No, he's a great guy. These people were so friendly, just so damn friendly, and eager to ask, eager to answer questions, and find out about what you're doing. That was just cool. It felt like people were there to help and learn and teach. They were not there to grandstand or be with their cult. So it's just a very, very different experience. So if you're a professional and want to be a professional, go. If you can find the money, beg, buy, borrow, or steal it, go.
Even if you can't find the money, they do have scholarships, and you might be able to get a partial scholarship or even a full ride. There are a few people, I should say, that they not only paid for the conference fee, they paid the airfare and the hotel as well.
Yeah.
It's not very many of those, but there are some people that got the full ride scholarship and some that got partial scholarships that had their conference fee waived, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's stuff there that you can try and get into. So it's this isn't like some kind of Dragon Con thing or Balticon or any of those other cons that you've heard us mention or go to before. This is wildly different.
Tabitha mentions here that they have a virtual option, right? She saw that it was too late to register this year, and they do have a virtual option where you could go ahead and watch it as it's happening live. They had some issues with the live streaming on day one, so that was a big problem, but lesson learned. They'll figure out how to make it work better next year.
Yeah, she had a computer flatline. Not just like the drives crashed, the whole thing went bye-bye. The motherboard went bye-bye, so that was a problem. Oops.
Sorry, I
clicked it off. Yes, we really need to organize this. Who's in control here anyway? Who's the dominant?
Obviously, the cats are. I'm not sure why you even bothered to ask that question.
It's a very good question. Very good question.
Speaking of very good questions, we should open the floor to the listeners so that they can ask us questions about the con.
Yep. If you got questions, ask. It was just so much fun meeting all those people. And then Friday was the day that the writers that are exhibiting their books exhibit their books. So we saw a lot of booths there, and Terry just walked me down rows, and we just basically shook everybody's hand, met them, find out what they were writing, and they found out what we were writing, and then we'd move on to the next table.
Networking, my friend.
And it was funny how many people knew of this show and knew of my show. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
kind of scary, isn't it?
Kind of scary, it is. So that stuff was out there, and just talking to these folks is it was good. It was great. It was wonderful. All right, Tim. Cheers.
Tim's got to go. He was glad the con was good. Thanks, Tim, for stopping in, and we will catch you later, sir.
Sounds like the column was very positive. What do you wish you'd done differently?
I wish I'd stayed an extra day so that I would not have been exhausted on the way home.
I concur. I concur because Friday sucked so bad. It was horrible. It went on for fucking ever. It just never ended. And it was even worse for Terry.
Did you see what time I got home?
What was that, 1?
It was after 1 in the morning by the time I got back home.
Yeah, so I didn't get home till after Carrie was left for the airport at 8, and she didn't pick me up till 9:15 or 9:30.
I learned one valuable lesson. Never go ahead and accompany Paul back to the airport if you're going to be a little early, because that's just bad karma. I found out that if you try to check in more than 4 hours in advance, they won't let you.
Which meant Terry was unable to go through the security line, which meant he was unable to go anywhere.
And I still, after having waited 25 minutes to check in and going through security, only arrived at Paul's location about, 10, 15 minutes after you did?
Yeah, security was so much fun.
Going TSA pre-check is always a good thing. It's worth the money.
Going to Houston the first time, going to Las Vegas was no problem. Las Vegas is trying new stuff, and they're fucking it up. They even fucked up the pre-check. Trust me, I watched that shit happen. So yeah, the trip home was yeah. The most terrifying thing for me was looking out of the cab from a distance and seeing the Strip from a distance. It looks like something that belongs in a science fiction movie. It just is. It's unbelievable how big it is. Just unbelievable. I think the other thing Terry wishes he didn't have was all those night things, which left him completely exhausted on top of everything else.
It's going to be that way going forward into the future again.
Probably.
I'm just lucky that there weren't any conflicts this time, and I had to pick or choose which ones. I didn't have to.
Yeah, that's a good thing. There was just a lot of things going on. If I had to do something differently, I would have created a Facebook burner account and joined the group. So, because I missed a lot of stuff that was going on because I didn't get any messages about what was up. But you all know my feeling on Facebook about Facebook. So something to keep in mind for next time. I think next time I'll probably have less anxiety and we'll have a better time of approaching and talking to people. So if anything, I wish I had done more of that. But the good news is I can go back and look at the panels, and I can even look at Terry's sci-fi space opera panel that he was on and see the shenanigans he spoke of. So, I should probably watch that.
I went to the panel. I was invited to be on the space opera panel as a replacement for Terry Maggart, who came down with the flu. So I stole his prop sign and wrote the word "not" above it. And that's what I used at the start of the thing. In fact, I think I actually have it up here.
And then what happened, Terry? Oh, we have to wait for him to get back to his mic because he loves to wander off. I'm going to put a leash on you. There it is, yeah.
And so I introduced myself as not Terry Maggart, and I was not the author of his particular series. And I told his friends to go ahead and, live tweet him as he's going on through this thing, send him messages about me telling jokes, pretending to be him, having everybody laugh about it, and then maybe even, if I had some of his books, I would fake sign some of his books. So that would be outrageous. We were going to troll him pretty good, but it ended up being a mild troll instead. He was amused. I saw some of his responses.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas unless it's streamed.
That's true. I was sitting next to David Weber on the panel, which that's always a pleasure to do because you're like, little bitty author, big name author. That's always fun sitting next to somebody like that. And he was telling before we started a story about, he's 70 now and he's getting up there, and it makes him feel really weird when somebody's like in a previous panel had told him, you brought me into writing science fiction. I was 14 when I read your Honor Harrington stuff. And I said, being 70 is also affecting your memory because that was me. And he said, "No, it was not."
Was it?
He was not convinced with me trying to tell him that it was me. Just like, no, not buying into that. No, it was not.
Another one of my favorite lines of the com was we were going somewhere. Jack looked at me and he goes, "It's like 8:00. Aren't you supposed to be in bed or some shit? You 70-year-old motherfucker." It was hysterical. I loved it. I just loved it. Oh God, I love that guy. Yeah, here you go. So they have all these signs that smoking marijuana in public is prohibited.
That sure didn't stop them.
Oh my God. So here's the problem. In because they're morons, they have not created a place for people to smoke anywhere. So basically they're huddled into any corner they can find and smoking J's, or fuck it, they're just walking down the street smoking them. I don't think the cops can stop anybody because there's too many of them. So they really fuck shit up. But welcome to Vegas.
There were a surprising number of people from the UK there.
I guess I only met 2. Maybe I met 3. Maybe I met 3. How many did you see or know of?
Probably closer to a dozen. That's what I met. I'm sure there were many more.
Probably. It was just crazy. It was a crazy con. I really never had time to rest too much. I got like maybe 1,200 words written the entire week, but at least I got some words. But it was just fun brainstorming and talking to folks. It's just good stuff. So go to it. That's what I would change. It's not much. Apart from going to Planet 13 on the way home from the airport, or on the way to the hotel from the airport. Because go look up Planet 13. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Yes, another kitty.
This is Dorian, and he has never been on the podcast before this way. He's loose around the house
he just got loose. He just got loose.
He's like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what this podcast thing is. I was very nervous.
So that's what, 4 cats now? Maybe 5? Matt says it wasn't him, unless he's been cloned. If any of them were good looking, it's possible. No. What other questions you got? I guess we can move on from the con if you don't have any other questions about the con.
If you don't have any con questions, we can certainly talk about anything else.
We are here to, well, hopefully amuse, but I'm not going to set the bar too high for us. Terry, your chair is getting worse every time I see it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get something to, cover it up because it's pretty bad.
It's bad news. Welcome, Tabitha. Thanks for coming. Most excellent. Ooh, there's something I need to do. There is something I need to do. One thing.
Folks, what other writing questions do you have while Paul is figuring out what else he has to do?
Paul knows what else he has to do. And it's done. So there you go. There's nothing else you would change, huh?
About how I'm participating in the con?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm pretty good, other than spending the extra day there. This is the first year that we didn't leave on Saturday. And, man, it was rough. I don't think I'd do that again.
Why don't you, how are panelists chosen?
The moderator is chosen by the con. They find the big name moderators to go ahead and do these things, and then the moderator invites the guests.
Interesting. So
when you get to that level, it's who you know.
I was going to make that statement, but then there's the other statement that follows and rhymes.
That makes it sound bad. That's not bad. I make it sound like it's a who you know sort of thing. but it's the fact that the big name moderators know a lot of really
Yeah.
high end authors that they can bring onto the panel. And that's what I meant by that.
Or specialists or whatever in that particular field. I knew what you meant. I knew what you
Yeah,
meant.
it just sounded bad, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't make it. It wasn't a political sort of thing of it's really who you know. No, it's you've got a wide network of people that you know.
Hence why I called Terry a social slut earlier, not a social butterfly.
I was socially
You
sleeping
were
with
just,
everyone.
oh yeah, you were just, wow. I did not realize you could have that many clients in a week. It was pretty crazy. It was just absolutely bonkers. It was only really 4 days, 4 con days, because last day didn't count. The first day didn't count. So there you go.
I'm not sure that that's true. I think the first day and the last day, Monday and Friday, did count.
I'm
for what
talking
you were doing.
Sunday and Friday.
Yeah, Sunday didn't count. So
really.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't you know what a keyboard is? Give me that. He tried to step on the sleep button. I could have vanished at any moment. Poof.
Matt says, and they probably would know who's actually good to be on a panel too, not just big in a genre. Yeah. I mean, you got fantastic writers out there who could not hold a conversation to save their lives. Just not very talkative, or personality just doesn't do well on in audio or video, and that's kind of an issue. So giving presentations and things like that would be kind of tough. So yeah, they're going to do some screening on that one. I can definitely get behind that. So I did meet somebody who writes Station 3 style stuff, and we had a conversation, and that was pretty cool. So I'm planning on hitting him up and send out some emails, and I made some business connections, so we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful. Probably nothing before the new year, but you never know. If then. Jeez. Oh boy, there's a question. So if you guys could run your own panels, what would they be and who would you invite?
Well, you see, the subject matter we don't get to choose, as far as like, we'd like to have a panel on X. You can always propose it and maybe they'd say yes, but it's like them reaching out and saying, hey, you want to run the space opera panel this year? Hey, you want to run the horror panel this year? It's more along those lines. But if we got to, propose a panel, what would it be, Paul? Something that wasn't there.
Sci-fi paranormal romance.
I don't think that that's going to fly. And I don't think that you are an expert subject matter in that.
I didn't say I was an expert in it. I just said, you asked me what panel I would propose.
What Paul would actually like to run the panel on is how to write a novel in so many genres that no one knows what it is.
There you go. That's mine. That's really mine. Along with that, Patrick Tevye was talking to him. I was like, well, have you gotten anything out of the con? He said, yes. I finally realized I don't write, what do you say? I don't write sci-fi. I write fantasy or something along those lines. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, that was pretty funny. Leave my genre out of this. Meeting people who mash up stuff the way that other writers don't is always a good thing. I think the problem is trying to figure out marketing, as always, which has been my huge enemy. But I think I kind of have that sorted right now.
For me, I think I would write the panel. I would moderate the panel on how to be a social slut.
Oh boy, isn't it the first day? I think that's the first presentation you give, actually.
It kind of is, actually. I made the mistake of telling Craig Martell that he needed a new attendees orientation. And so he said, that's a great idea. Why don't you start thinking of how you're going to present it?
Don't propose something unless you're willing to do it. That's how this works.
If you propose, say there's a need, you're probably going to be the one filling that need. I should have remembered that. He was a Marine officer. I should have known that was coming. I walked right into that one.
See this shit? Yeah, it needs to get done. Okay, so why aren't you doing it?
No, it's not so why aren't you doing it? So how are you going to do it?
How are you going to do it? This is there's no
There was no option here. This was you're doing it, buddy.
Shell, that's leadership.
It kind of is. It's a military thing.
It is indeed. I don't know who I would put on a panel of multi-genre books. God, well,
there was a panel on that one. Didn't they call it pan genre?
I didn't see a
Something like
panel
that?
on pangenre. I heard it mentioned
Oh,
that
you heard
somebody
it
was
mentioned.
calling it pangenre.
Gotcha.
So being told that I guess I write pangenre? And I'm a pangenre writer. I write across all the genres. Why shouldn't my books have a bunch of them slammed together?
You're genre omnivore.
I am. I'm not genre monogamous. I'm polyamorous when it comes to genre, and I like it that way.
Genre amorous. That's Paul Cooley.
One day I shall be realized as one of the visionaries who was a total idiot and not a visionary, but thought he was or pretended he was. No,
There's a lot of those.
I know. They usually own large companies. Anyway, I'm not really sure who I want to get on that. I know several people, but I don't think they're up to the experience level that I would want to be on those panels. I would have to go through and look for some big names that are doing that. I really don't know. It's really hard to find people who do what I do or write like I write. And because I don't read fantasy, that cuts that out. So I'd have no idea who that would be. I don't read, romance, so I wouldn't know who writes those kinds of stories and has multi-genres. I'm too ignorant to even think about who I would invite to that panel. I would have to do some serious research. You're calling Jake Bible successful? Michelle, that is sacrilege on this show. We have standards, and mentioning him, bad news. He's the first one that came to mind, actually, that I would have, or that would be in the potential list. Jake writes a lot of crazy stuff. He doesn't believe in genre. He believes in story. So that's pretty much where he's at with that. You don't mention my nemesis on this show. Only I'm allowed to mention my nemesis.
Oh, come on now, Paul. Come on. You guys aren't nemesi. That's not how that works. You're not in his league. He does. It's like, I am his enemy. Who was that again?
Ooh, that's mean. Well, now he's not really on social media, and I'm not either. On we don't really spar anymore. We sparred not too long ago. It was pretty fun. We still talk a lot of shit to each other because that's what we do. We need to have his ass and the rest of him on the show again soon. We need to do that. Yes, bad girl squirts Michelle with water for mentioning Jake Bible. Yeah, right. It's like a cat thing. Mm-hmm. He's a very bad man. Don't ever read his books. They're terrible.
So writing at the convention. I know you got some writing done, Paul. Do you think writing at a writing convention is a good thing?
It was for me getting the hell away from the madness for a little while. Jesus. So for those of you who don't know, well, okay. Remember high school where the bell would ring and everybody would file out and suddenly the hallways are completely choked with noise and mayhem and shenanigans? That was every time a panel time ended. And suddenly it got so loud I could barely hear myself think. And for like 30 or 40 minutes, this would go on till people found other panels or stopped milling around, stopped talking and everything else. It just got to be too much. And I was having a hell of a time with my hearing aids, being able to hear with a lot of stuff. So it was pretty stressful and frustrating for me. So occasionally I had to leave and go somewhere else. But in the mornings before anybody was up, yeah, I wrote. I had nothing else to do because Terry was sleeping and nobody was up. So yeah, I wrote.
I think the funny morning was the one where I got up. I woke up early.
It's Friday.
On Friday, because whenever I set an alarm for myself to make sure that I get up for something, then I can't help but wake up early. It just can't help. You were still asleep, and I think when I got out, the noise was enough to wake you up, and you thought I was still asleep, so you snuck out too. So when I came back to wake you up for the thing, you were gone.
It was amusing.
I'm going to sneak out so I don't wake up Terry. Terry's not even there.
I wasn't going to turn on the lights because I was afraid it hit his eyes. And I saw these pillows. I'm like, is he really in the bed?
You could have turned on the bathroom light and that would have given you just enough light
I hadn't had any coffee. You're expecting rational thought from a human that hasn't.
But I thought that was funny how we both sneak out of the room to make sure the other one's not, woke up.
That just means we're courteous people. Well, that was
I'll be a moment.
while Terry currently, tries to stop felinicide.
What's going on, boys?
Felinicide? Is that a word? And if not, why isn't it? It should be a word. So we just sitting here and eavesdrop on him talking to cats. He can still hear me, by the way, because he's got his wireless headphones on. This is usually where I say all the terrible things about him. But what's the point? I've already said them to his face, so I really shouldn't give him any more of a difficult time. I really shouldn't. He'll just backfire on me anyway.
Poor Dorian was being picked on, so I had to go make sure that he got some space.
Okay, well, there you go. Making for a happy pounce, or happier.
He's a little boy, so he's not the when they get a little rough. It's a little hard on him, so I got to make sure that he gets a little space.
Next poll: should we petition to have caffeine classified as a vitamin?
It's not. Wait a minute, hold on. I'm pretty sure it is a vitamin. Doesn't it already have a place in the periodic table of elements?
It doesn't one the shirts I have. Oh, speaking of, there was an author there who writes cyberpunk, and on costume day or cosplay day, she came dressed out in a cat suit that was from a distance it looked like cybernetic armor and everything else. It was really cool looking. And she had a mask on and everything. It looked great. It looked fantastic. I had to get pictures. Maybe I'll post them at some point. Yeah, we didn't have time for hiking, Michelle. Plus, my knee was all jacked up. There was no point in us renting a car. That we were literally talking to people from dusk till dawn, dawn to dusk. There was no time. But I'm sure you're right. Oh, you used to live there? Oh boy. I wonder if it's changed all that much from when you were there. Probably. That's kind of a long time. Oh, we have the Putty back.
This is Pollux. He's the one that I hadn't laid eyes on since I got home.
I've lost count. Is this 6 now?
It could be.
Including Shadow?
Oh, boy.
We're having a record number of cats today. I don't know how this happens.
I'm glad to have seen him because he's been hiding, so I haven't laid eyes on him. So I'm glad that I've now laid eyes on him.
No, now he knows you're back in the office. You're going to have problems.
That's
Big
fine.
Problems.
He's one of the upstairs cats. He stays up here. He'll get his love.
Oh, my God.
Can you hear them?
Yes. Yes, I can, as a matter of fact.
That's Leo talking to him, saying, "Hey, we're not done playing yet. Come on, let's open the door. I want to play with you rough, real bad."
Are they swatting each other under the door?
They're at the gate in the hallway.
Oh, even better. Michelle says she was a professor at UNLV and said students used to come from work dressed as characters from various shows.
Yeah,
So
I saw
let me
a couple
get
of
this
costumes
straight.
that I think Paul should have worn for
No,
costume day.
no. Okay, here's the most horrific thing that happened at the con. Terry suggested for cosplay day he come in his slave Leia outfit.
And I was seriously considering it too. Even with this big old belly, that would even make it better. But I'm pretty sure Craig Martell would have been at the door going, "Badge, gimme, badge."
Especially when you suggested it be made of beads.
I did not suggest it was made of beads. That was a totally different conversation.
No, it really wasn't.
Well, okay, I saw that as a different conversation.
It was not a different conversation. Matt says, reminds me of the dress for the job you want, not the one you have, and you've got students dressed as Cinderella.
That's when you show up to work dressed as Boba Fett.
Oh, God. I just imagine somebody walking in, dressed up in the showgirl outfit with the huge things in class, working on math or whatever. God. I can totally see Vegas being crazy enough for that stuff kind of thing to happen. I can totally believe that. Utter madness.
Any other generalized questions, folks? Or questions about everything?
Life, the universe, and everything? Don't ask us that. Don't make any head checkers references, please. Wow. Huh? Matt says if you need hooking up, I've got a mate who trained as a saddler who has moved across into other genres. A saddler?
I'm thinking that's costume creation of some kind.
Oh, okay. Alrighty, that makes sense now.
Matt can explain in more detail, but I'm guessing from context that's what it means. We'll see.
That is not a word I am familiar with. I am missing that idiom. Sprinting toward writing goals for end of the year. Ooh. Terry, what is your writing goal for the end of the year?
I don't have writing goals for time frames. What I have is deadlines for novels that are about 2 months apart. I can't look at what I'm going to do big term. If I meet the short term goals, I set goals for when I'm writing during the day. I'd say I'd like to write 6,000 words today because I don't have anything going on and I can do it. Or I've got 3,000 words I'd like to write today because I've got appointments in the afternoon. I set daily goals, and by meeting those daily goals, or occasionally failing to meet those daily goals, is how I work towards meeting the novel deadline. And that's what I've got to focus on the short term. It works. Short-term goals work much better for me than long-term ones.
I think that probably goes for everybody.
Well, I don't know. Some people do well with having long-term goals. And when you're talking sprints, those are much shorter goals. I mean, if you said, I'm going to have a 15-minute sprint.
Exactly.
I'm going to have a 500-word sprint. I'm going to have a 1,000-word sprint. Those kind of things do not work for me. Daily goals work for me because I've got the time to write. I can go do chores. I can do this other thing. And I can make that work. But if I try to set myself a minute goal, I'm going to write for X minutes and get this many words, that totally fails me.
I don't do that. I just write until I need a break, and then I go do something else, come back, and go ahead. Okay, we used to make saddles for horses. He now works in BDSM. Okay. All right.
I totally was not talking about doing BDSM, so I'm not sure how that helps me.
He's telling you this person makes costumes that will work for a Leia outfit.
Have you seen the Princess Leia slave outfit? There's not a lot to be done there, and I'm almost sure that none of it's leather. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you are.
But you know, if I actually dressed up in the slave Leia costume, they would have every right to ask me to leave the con. Demand that I leave the con.
I'd ask you to leave the con. I mean, there were children there, okay? There were children there.
Yeah, with this belly hanging out, oh my God. I could just see the wide-eyed stares, the open-mouthed expressions as I walk down the hall, maybe with somebody dressed as Chewbacca leading me down the hall. And while I am more than willing to be that guy, that might be a bit much. Just might be a bit much.
Might be a bit much, he says. We don't believe it. We don't believe any of it.
I guarantee I would win the costume contest that year.
I guarantee you would be kicked out of the con and not able to participate in said contest. Just saying it. Wasn't it
I honestly don't remember what it was. I'm just going off memory that there was a lot of skin. So imagining a fat guy walking down in the slave Leia costume with lots of skin showing is just a horrifying vision. And, you know, it would be amazing.
No, Michelle, we are not making a DRS calendar raising money for charity with Terry in a slave outfit.
I would totally, wait a second here.
Oh,
I could totally dress up in the slave Leia costume.
Here we go.
And then pose in like the positions of the masters for the masters' paintings.
I knew this was going. I knew where you were going. I was scared you were going to go there. I knew you were going there anyway. And like a fool, I didn't put a stop to it.
That's because you're secretly jealous of this idea.
Really?
Yeah, Matt says, again, eye bleach sounds good. That's what everyone at the convention would have to wear if I dared to put that costume on and strut down the central corridor.
Look, dude, there were some things said at this con that required brain bleach, not just eye bleach, brain bleach. Trust me.
My
Most of them
God.
were said by
The
Terry.
whole reason that that I even considered wearing that as a costume would be to be the center of every conversation.
That would do it. I don't know if it'd help you sell books.
You think I'd go there to sell books? That is
No,
totally not why I'm at that convention.
I
But
know. But
oh my
writers
God.
talk.
Oh
Writers
my God.
talk.
I imagine that I would be discussed in the romance section.
Dude, you'd be on YouTube. No,
Oh,
no, no.
I totally
And
would be all
TikTok
over
and
YouTube.
Facebook and Mastodon
I'd
because
have to
Twitter no
memorize
longer exists.
a lot of Leia quotes. I would have to absolutely memorize a lot of Leia quotes.
Yeah, you walk behind me and say, "Will somebody get this walking carpet out of my way?" No such thing as bad advertising, allegedly. There are some people you should talk to about that who have been whose businesses are currently burning to the ground. There's maybe some things you need to think about there.
So, listeners, we should have put this up as a poll. Terry dressing as Slave Leia next year. Good idea, bad idea.
That is definitely next week's poll. That is most definitely next week's poll.
Well, you know, is it not going to be next week's poll if it's not, a live show. So you can't really do that. It'd like to have to be next month's live poll.
Okay, fine. It'll be the next live show's poll. POLL, not POLE. We are not stripping for you.
Bum bump.
Terry, I've now seen you in your underwear. Please don't ever do that again.
When I suggested that idea, Jack was like, "No,
No.
no,
It was awesome.
no."
He looked brain fried. It was hilarious. That was great. Oh, yeah. You guys have been doing great with advertising. Your PR campaigns are growing great.
All right then.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. The world's so fucked up. Anyway, so that, I guess, pretty much sums up 20 books.
My generalized experience, and I'll this is my closing comments on the show for that, is that somebody had earlier said, if I ever get my writing life in order, it would be good for me to go. I think it would be good to go even if you don't have your writing life in order. There are people there that have not written their first book. The friends that you'll make, the contacts that you'll make, the conversations that you can be part of if you are brave enough to insert yourself into them, change your life when it comes to writing.
Going to Vegas changes you, man. It changes you.
Nothing like what Paul said, but it's still great to go there and find your tribe.
I think that's the biggest part of this. I mean, I feel refreshed creatively. And it's not because we were talking about being creative. It was because we were basically colleagues, peers, hanging out and just talking business, talking what we do, and talking about nothing that relates to what we do.
You literally have no idea who you're going to meet, who you're going to talk to.
As evidenced Monday morning, which we will talk about some other time. Can't talk about anything now.
Who did we meet Monday morning?
No, it's who I met Monday morning.
Oh, okay.
It's who I met Monday morning. Anyway, yeah, you never know what's going to happen. You never know, but the people there are big in the industry. And if you want to get better at what you do, I think you kind of have to go to it. At the very least, I think the YouTube presentations and etc. Can you mute that shit?
I know, right?
Yeah, pandemic. I think that it's really what you kind of need to think about doing. And if you can't go, then definitely sign up for the YouTube or sign up for the streams or whatever else, because I do think it's worthwhile. Even that's worthwhile. And get out of it what you can. And remember, these folks they just kind of bend over backwards to talk to you. So I mean, this is just a totally different con. And you kind of have to treat it that way and know that that's what it is up front. Otherwise, you will be sorely disappointed when Alan Tudyk doesn't show up. It's just not that kind of con. Writing is the focus, publishing is the focus, and business is the focus, but the focus is on what we do. Period. End of story. So that's my takeaway from it. You've heard Terry's takeaway from it. If you have any other questions for us, you can send an email to show@debrobotssociety.com. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul E. Cooley at mastodon.social. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where Terry runs all the crazy. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Paul. I almost gave my YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. We have to thank our wonderful host, Podhoster, for making all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you would like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows, unexpurgated episodes, and other madness. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And we will have probably some announcements to make in a few weeks. But before we talk about that, we need to let you know that Terry and I are caffeine-based life forms, and we get our caffeine from corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com, check out their selection of coffees, boutique teas, or wonderfully weird webcomic, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. Is that everything?
I think that's everything.
I think that's everything. So only other thing I can say is thank you very much for hanging out with us. We know time is precious, and hanging out with two old dumpy white guys is kind of hard thing to do, but we appreciate it. And also the questions and everything else, hopefully get something out of looking at 20 books, and hopefully something you can think about doing in the future. With that, we are out of here. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, and we will talk again soon.
Bye, folks.